Ayaleu. Namori.
Once again, I'm shaking because when I get very passionate about something, my heart rages with a fire that cannot be extinguished. And I want to show you all this comment that is full of the racism that runs rampant in our societies. What gave you the idea that African spirituality or African-based spirituality is primitive? What makes you think that the gods that you believe in are so much better than the gods that African people believe in? The real question here is, what makes you think that white people are better than black people? What makes us primitive? Because you are no better than us. And that's a reality you have to fucking face.
All right. Welcome back again. When black people realize or they identify their point of strength, it really scares the white America. It really scares the oppressors. It really scares the white supremacists, because the white supremacists, they know one thing, that if blacks can be able to get to their roots, or they can be able to understand who they really are, they're going to be very dangerous kind of people. And that is why for a very long time, white people and white supremacists made sure that black people cannot be able to identify who they are or to know who they are. Listen up. A black person was uprooted from their homeland, from their roots. They were taken to a foreign land to be slaves, you know. But a white supremacist made sure that a black person is totally uprooted from where they used to be or from where they were supposed to be, you know, and he took everything away. They took everything away, their history, their culture, and everything. And when they get there, they began now telling the white Americans and like the black people and teaching them things that doesn't belong to them, you know, trying to tell them and to make them understand you people are good for nothing. You people can't really do anything. And that is why we've always lived a life that, you know, we've kept on knowing that white people are better than black people. You see, if you come across a kid today, a growing child, and you ask them a question, you're given an opportunity to go and live in America or to live in Africa. Which one will you choose? Definitely, this person will tell you America. Why? Because America has been put to a point, like it has been fashioned to look like it's better than every other country in the world, you know, and they made black people hate themselves, hate their country, hate their roots, hate where they're coming from, hate their skin. You know, we're being defined by the skin color and all that, that when you're black, you are maybe, let me say, you're less fortunate. You know, when you're black, you are a person with a disability. You see, that is how they've been seeing black people and making the rest, the black color, look like a disadvantage. And therefore, black people forgot who they really are to an extent that the color black became a disadvantage to them. And they never wanted a black person to know who they are, where they're coming from, to know their history and all that, because identity is what gives you power. But right now, black people are beginning to know who they are. And it's scaring the West because it's a weapon they can use to stop oppression, to stop racism, to stop segregation, and to stop everything we are seeing, the discrimination we are seeing around and all these things, by knowing themselves. So identity is a factor that really gives people strength and a factor that gives courage. It can make you tell somebody or stop people from misusing you and all that. So black people are beginning to get their identity, to know who they really are, to understand who they are. And by doing that, by so doing, the white America is shaking right now as we are speaking. Take a look at these videos. I'll come back and say more. I'm going to ask you to subscribe to this channel if you're watching me for the first time. But for the returning subscribers, I really do appreciate you. Now, as you're watching this video, kindly prepare your thoughts, have them shared with me in the comment section. I will do my best to make sure I read all of them and give a response where possible. But until then, let's take a look at the videos.
I'm 16, I'm black, and I'm closer. But the truth is, not enough South Africans love their blackness enough. We do not celebrate it enough. And that's not by accident. During apartheid, that was reinforced by the government that black is lesser than, black is subpar. And that was put into our education systems. Like many black South Africans, I grew up in the township, Elokshin, Ekasi. And I grew up around the culture, the vibe, around everything. And the idea that I received and widespread, and I know this because my grandmother would really remind me of this whenever we spoke, and I'd ask her about the past and everything, and it always come up that umdomnyama utom, which is basically a black person is dumb. Okay, and that's not by accident either. People like Dr. Verwoerd hampered this idea into the education systems, the apartheid systems, that as a black person you'll always be less than, you cannot achieve anything, and your blackness is not beautiful, your blackness is ugly. And that is disgusting, and that is backwards. That is very, very backwards. In a country like South Africa, and the way that South Africa is now, we need to love and celebrate our blackness, because that's what makes us us. That's what gives us soul, and that is who we are. Right? We are Sizulu, we are Sipedi, we are Setswana, Sesotho, Tshivenda, Stonga, and every other cultural and language group in South Africa, and we need to celebrate and love that. That does not mean to think less of or not to love other cultures as much, but it means to love yours and understand and appreciate the value of your own culture and you and who you are. Because if we can understand and love ourselves, then we will set higher standards for ourselves. We will not accept lesser than. We will not accept the blatant corruption and the subpar standards that we are being given in this country. And once we love ourselves, we can spread that love onto others. Black people have never been a hateful people. We've always been a welcoming and loving people. And I think we can spread that love even more once we love ourselves. And loving ourselves is the first step to building a great nation, and to building a great continent, and building a better world. Thank you very much.
What is something that you're proud of that most people don't know?
I'm really proud of becoming more comfortable wearing my natural hair and just, being comfy as a black woman. I grew up in a really small conservative town, so it took me a long time to really become into it. And now I feel like it's my look and I love it. So
What was the experience like the first time you let the curls out?
it was actually good. See, I think I hyped it up too much in my head. I thought I was going to get a negative reaction, but then when I actually step outside, it's always so much positive, compliments, reactions from people, smiles. Being a teenager, I suppressed it, and now being an adult, I don't know, I like inspiring other people to feel comfortable doing it. I think that's what caused me to want to get back into it. Yeah, I just want to say I'm really proud of becoming an Afro girl and finally opening up about that.
One thing my dad always told me was, love yourself, Nyankure. Your skin is beautiful, and you're born with it. God made you that way. So accept it and understand that beauty is not just your skin, it's inner too. So people are gonna hate you regardless of what you are. And I hold myself proudly, and I walk in the room, always make sure to put my head up high and be there, be in the moment, because I love myself, and I will always remember. I had a strong mother figure, my grandma and everybody in there, they're all dark skinned. And I'm so glad that growing up, I didn't see my mom go for the bleaching cream. All you can really do is say fuck you to all the haters and just love yourself, really.
Living in Europe, you take the knowledge, but you keep your own culture. You take the knowledge, the skills, the engineering, the economics, etc., but you keep your African identity. The reason why African people have so much identity crisis in the West is because you keep on deleting your culture, trying to be someone else that you are not. And there are going to be people in Europe that have an inferiority complex towards ancient African culture. So they are going to try to make you become like them. You don't have to become like them. You just say, no, no thank you. Your culture is polite, nice, loving, law-abiding, you don't need to become anyone else but who you are.
So last time I was talking about the tribal marks and people were like, why would I do that? Why would she's not of high value? Do you know why our price, average price, or the number of cows they marry out with is more than the rest is because of bravery. It shows signs of bravery. For you to bear all this pain, for this, because these marks are like scars. So it means they have spears, half-face, and actually even blood has come out of these wounds. And now this is a sign that a significance of bravery and strength. So why wouldn't they marry more cows, like over 100 cows, when you have this? Your bride price is so high because of that. Not just because of her, but because of the pain you bore on your face to show your bravery. Yeah, and part of also cultural norms.
A very beautiful black girl, okay? Okay? You have the most beautiful skin, okay? Okay?
You heard that, this Sammy?
Why do people think black lives don't matter? Why do some people hate on black people?
Because you guys too beautiful, that's why.
There's a lot that black lives
They're
matter.
jealous. Yeah, black lives matter,
I
of course.
know, but people don't care.
Yuri, a lot of people care, actually. It's just some people don't. Most people know this. Most people care. But there's a few bad apples, okay? And those bad apples are in the minority. You understand? You understand?
Why do people hate on black people?
It's ignorance, that's all me. They're ignorant. They don't know any better. And unfortunately, a lot of it comes from their own upbringing. Like, they learn from their parents who are dumb idiots, and then they grow up being dumb idiots too. And then they have a kid and they raise their kid to be dumb idiots too. But it's changing though. Things are a lot better now than they used to be. And it's not done. We're not where we need to be, certainly. But with your generation, it's getting better and better and better. You have to be strong and not weak. You understand? So Black Lives Matter is a movement made from strong people. And not just black people. There are white people who support Black Lives Matter, yellow people, brown people, all kinds of colored people. It's not just black people fighting for Black Lives Matter. Everybody fighting for Black Lives Matter. You understand? So don't look at it as a racial this. There's most people are in support. You understand? Most people are good.
I think that my parents were good though in terms of being like, they never played into it, being like, oh, you should feel ashamed from where you're from. Like they always said like being black is like, it's the best thing. Yeah. And I think you only realize that now as you get older, and especially with what's going on at the moment with the community and what Africa's doing in the world, you become so proud to be that. But definitely when I was young, nah. Like I think it was only until like really high school, not high school, maybe like late primary school when I started to actually mingle with a lot more African people that I felt like, okay, cool, like this is fresh. I like this. Okay. I felt more comfortable there.
We started getting to a point with things becoming more on social media. You're seeing the videos, Afrobeat and Afrobeats coming into our spaces and us kind of being hungry for that attachment to the culture of Africa. We want it. Like that's how I got so deep into it. It wasn't because I was like, I wish I was born in Africa. It was like, wow, this is amazing. Something that they told me was nothing is everything. Yeah. And so to have this chance to be, I've been to Nigeria 6 times. You know, I love and I cry every time I leave because there's something special about it. Yeah. And so I think when we start moving towards having African Americans feel welcome into that space, as opposed to be like, oh, well, you didn't like me back then, and you called me an African booty scratcher back then. But it's not so now I don't like you, or so now you're lazy, or so now I'm better than you, or I'm here and you're there. Like it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. So when they show certain things about Africa, this is what they see and like, oh, I don't want to be that. I'm not African. I'm American. You know what I'm saying? Now when they see like what Africa is really about, like you visited Nigeria, now you really see for your own eyes. Good. Better than what you see on TV,
and I'll be honest with you, I was embarrassed. And I'm also not speaking for all Americans, but for me, being an African American, I was embarrassed as it started to be revealed to me what I had been, tricked about. Like, wow, this has been I've been lied to all my life. I was embarrassed to even want to come into that space and be like, Man, I thought all of y'all was just living in a mud hut. That's not fun to say.
Why do so many Gen Z pop stars adopt a black scent? Largely, African American vernacular English is appropriated by youth culture, and this is far from a recent phenomenon. For as long as Black people have been in America, there has been appropriation of the colloquial English that African Americans use, otherwise known as African American Vernacular English, or AAVE. In Gen Z, AAVE has emerged in BFFR, which has been mislabeled as a youth phenomenon, rather than linguistic appropriation. Prominent celebrities like Ariana Grande and Billie Eilish have been accused of using a black scent, seemingly to convey coolness, to display a down-to-earth approach. The utilization of AAVE is an attempt to bring down their social class. Obviously, both Billie Eilish and Ariana Grande were from quite wealthy, interconnected backgrounds, and their manner of speaking reflects this. Nevertheless, it promotes the stereotype that people who use AAVE are lower class, and by speaking that way, you are appealing to the lower classes. It is an attempt to rid oneself of white privilege and affluence. Yes, most slang terms do originate from AAVE. Quite possibly, young people are drawn to AAVE because it's seen as a rebellion. Assuming most of these appropriators are from white middle-class backgrounds, they absorbed the racist idea that that is how people who are uneducated speak, people who are involved in criminal activities, both of which are negative stereotypes that affect the Black community. By adopting a black scent, they are rebelling against their white middle-class upbringing, or in Ariana's case, upper-class upbringing. It's well known that Ariana in particular attempted to appear white, Latina, Black, and Asian. She is the last race bender. That is not an original joke, by the way. She inhabits and discards races as if it's an eyebrow trend. Although Billie never attempted to alter her appearance to that extreme degree, Billie's clothing style is reminiscent of a rapper. And although yes, there is an empowering androgynous quality to the way she dresses, in congruence with her black scent, it seems like she's attempting to pander. Maybe not physically, but culturally. Both Ariana and Billie have distanced themselves from the black scent in AAVE. AAVE isn't something you can just pick up and discard at your leisure. It's a culture, a heritage. But to the youth, it's just cool.
Alright, welcome back again. Now, it's gonna be a problem because you see now the oppression won't go on. You see, there's been some kind of oppression that has been going on around, and people are being oppressed because you don't have a home, you don't know your parents, you don't know your fathers and your brothers and sisters, you don't know your family and all that, and you're living in a foreign land like a slave, and people are like, so these people, we can do anything we want to do for them because at the end of the day, they don't know who they really are. So black people have been oppressed and all that because they didn't know who they were. And so because they did not know who they were, white supremacists found it easy to oppress them, to treat them anyhowly and all that. But blacks couldn't do anything at that moment, because at the end of the day, they didn't know who they were. You see, now, it started when a history of a black person was hidden. You see, when a black person was uprooted from the land, from the motherland, from their roots, the history was hidden. So you see a white person saying that black people don't have a history. Black people don't have a home, they don't have anything. And you're like, oh, wow. So blacks don't have a history? But it is only because after they were telling and speaking and spreading the gospel of blacks don't have a history, they had taken away all the books that blacks could read and get their history, and try to find where they're coming from and what happened. You see, blacks have been called uncivilized, yet the greatest civilization in the world started in Africa. You don't know that. It looks very much funny when I say today that even education itself, education itself, that, they're saying that white people, they brought education in Africa and all that. But the truth of the matter is that even education itself was brought upon by a black person, because education started in Africa. Education, the pioneers of education were Africans. You see, if we're talking about empires, the great empires were in Africa. The greatest civilization started in Africa in the early years. And so when the missionaries came to Africa, when these people came to Africa in the name of their coming to spread the gospel, and then later on they gave a way for the colonizers to come to Africa, they copied from Africa everything. They took it away to their countries. And then they expanded it. After expanding it, they're now putting themselves to look like pioneers, that they started all these things. Even some other inventions started in Africa, but now they took them to their countries. They put it look like they started the invention, and even if you go to the books we're reading in schools, here in Kenya, let me talk about Kenya because I'm a Kenyan. You find out that even in schools, we have many inventors. In a chemistry book, we have many inventors. In a physics book, we have the laws that are like the Gay-Lussac's law and many other laws in the books we are using in Africa. And all these things, all these inventions, all the discoveries, you see, it's insane. It's funny sometimes, because you find out that even in Kenya, Mount Kenya was discovered by a white man, and you are like, this mountain was existing in Africa even before the coming of a white man. So how comes a mountain was discovered by a white man, yet the mountain was in Kenya, and Africans were living around it already, but a white man comes, and in book it's written Mount Kenya was discovered by a white man. So how comes a white man discovered something that was already existing? That is what we're reading in books. It's a mountain in Africa. But in Kenya here, we have a book that is telling us it was discovered by I don't know who, Dr. David Livingstone or something. You tell me if you have an idea. But you see, now that is how black people were taken. And we were pushed backwards to an extent. Even the things we knew ourselves, or the things we ourselves had an idea of them, were like they were taken back, not on the front line. White people always wanted to be on the front line. You see, some other inventions or some other things were discovered by black people. But if you go now, you find out that when a white person would come and find a black person who has discovered something, what they used to do, they used to put them back, and then they put them at the front. So they come in the name of, in their name, and write there their name. You see, a black person discovers something, a white person comes in and writes his name there, saying that I am the one who discovered this. And that is why people would say black people never discover anything. They don't discover anything. It makes people think that white people are very much intelligent compared to the black people, which is not even true at all. Are you getting my point? Now, this is what I'm saying. Blacks they try to make black people look like people who don't really understand, like people who are less fortunate or something of the sort. And so for many years, blacks didn't appreciate themselves. They did not know, they couldn't even have the faith, because when you have the faith when at least you're seeing something. They couldn't have the faith with themselves because they look at themselves as weaker people, as people who are very weak. That is how they saw themselves. If you go to America today, African Americans in America, there is a gospel that is being spread in America, that when you go to Africa, people are not living in houses. People are living outside. That in Africa, there is poverty. That in Africa, there is all kinds of diseases. So if you go to Africa, you'll be infected with all these kind of diseases. When you go to Africa, you'll sleep outside because in Africa, there are no houses. People are sleeping in the forest. You see, those kind of narratives that doesn't make any sense. But it is to prevent the African Americans from joining the rest of their brothers and sisters in Africa. So they can't come because they're asking themselves, why should we live a good life here in America and go to Africa where people are sleeping outside, where there are no houses, where there is all sorts and kinds of diseases? Why should we go there? But it is a way of just trying to make them not have a mind of coming back to Africa. Why? Because a white man fears a unity of a black person. Louis Farrakhan said once upon a time in his speeches that a unity of a black person is as powerful as an atomic bomb or a hydrogen bomb. And that is why a white person fears a unity of a black person. Now, if black people begin to identify themselves, do you know what's going to come next? What's going to come next is unity, because this history to be hidden is because white supremacists did not want black people to know who they are. That's why there's some black people who have been brainwashed. They're calling themselves the FBAs, the Foundational Black Americans, saying that we can't come to Africa. Africa is not our land. We were born in America. America is where we are coming from, and all that, and all that. Yet they're black people. Yeah? We're the indigenous people, and all those kind of things. And I'm like, yo, you're a black person. You have a skin that is black. If you come to Africa, people won't know you are an American and unless you speak, and we can be able to listen to the accent and say, oh, he has an accent of an American. But without the accent, we will come out and not even know you are an American. So you're an you're an African, you know, and you don't have to be coming around and trying to say to feel like, you know, like being a black person is bad and all those kind of things. Now, what I'm happy with right now is the fact that black people have identified their point of strength, where they are stronger. And that one scares the West so much. It scares the West because the history is beginning to come out. Black people know that we were the greatest inventors and the pioneers of civilization. Black people are beginning to know that, you know, we were the people who brought up education and all that. Greatest universities started in Africa here. We had the likes of Mansa Musa, the likes of the Timbuktu. You see, we had great empires in Africa, and white people copied from Africa. White people copied from the black people. Even the culture. White Americans does not have a culture. Okay, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Look at the white American culture. White American culture is a black American culture. Because black people, look at the fashions, they are brought by the black people. Look at the music, the types of music. Talk about hip hop. Talk about the R&Bs. Talk about, like, okay, you can be able to see it, right? Let's talk about talent, you know. Talent was brought upon by the black people. Look at what is happening. You go to America and you find out that American country does not have an athlete, a single athlete who is a white person. Go to France. Look at the football team of France. It is full of black people. Because why? Because talent is made in Africa. Talent is cooked in Africa. Blacks are the ones who have talent, you know, and therefore all these things are brought upon by the black people. Are white people ready to accept the fact that black people are the great people? Are they? They are not ready to accept that fact. Why? Because they're very much arrogant, they're very much proud of themselves, and they feel like, yo, we can't let these people flex, you know? Because if we try to make them know or maybe give them a chance to, they're gonna flex, and we don't want that. We want the global face to see us as the pioneers, as the powerful people, as the inventors, as the greatest people, you know? And so we can't allow them to flex. So what are we gonna do? We're going to make sure they don't come out to light. That is what they do. But now they're scared. Why are they scared? They are scared because black people are beginning to understand and to get hold of their identity. And once they get hold of their identity, America begins to shake. That's just my opinion. Tell me what you think. I will really appreciate. I will read all the comments. I'll give a response where possible. I am Atamba Heti. This is African Streamline. Thanks for coming. Thanks for always watching. Until next episode, peace be with you.